Hello. Hey, welcome to Red River Podcast. Today I get to talk to John Ryan Sugimoto.
Sugimoto, yeah.
Okay, cool. Man, so it's listed here as you're a comedy director. I checked out most of your short film work, and we're gonna get into it, but it's like you never know, when you start watching stuff, what anything is going to be like. Shit, even when you start a podcast, you're like, this guy could be, you know, this host could be a dickhead. But your work is like pretty fucking good, man. It's like I'm not really too up on short films, but I'm a big cinephile, and obviously we all love comedy. But I was like super blown away by the work. So let's just like get to know you a little bit, and like how did like the directing come to be?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on and saying nice things about me. It makes me feel good inside.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's factual. Like I would have just skipped that whole part if it wasn't. Like you're doing some pretty cool shit.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, like in high school. And then eventually I took like a film class in community college. I couldn't get in anywhere. I tried to go to, what happened was I was taking a video class in high school and then I tried to get into like the best film school in Southern California. And I had like shitty grades. Like I was not a good student. I was like really bad at just school.
Yeah, me too, man.
It's
Same.
horrible. I mean, I wanted to
Yeah.
go hang out with my friends. Like
Yep.
that was way more educational for me.
For sure.
Yeah, went to community college. And you know what? Community college is cool because you're supposed to kind of go there and figure out your shit, like what you want to do. And that's like exactly what I did. Took a film class and I was like, oh shit, that's what this is. That's what I should do. I'd sort of given up because I didn't get in the best school. It's Chapman. I don't know if you call it the best school, but it's the best like film program is what I've heard at the time. This is 2005. Uh, so I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna do it. And then community college and then the film class. And then I was like, all right, great. I'd like to go to film school. And then my parents sent me to film school in LA. And
Was
yeah.
was that all right? So you grew up in LA.
I grew up in a town called Corona, which is like an hour away from LA.
All right. So basically, so I've never been to LA, but a lot of my friends actually have moved there. And the way like a New Yorker romanticizes LA. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, I don't know how it is now, but like I'm sure in the 90s and the early 2000s, like, you could throw a brick and hit anyone that's been in anything. So I would imagine that's kind of like the outside influence. It's like pushing you there, or was it like specific directors? Because I mean, everyone wants to make movies, and you kind of just followed that path, which most people don't do. Like you were talking about not knowing what you want to do. I still don't know what I want to do. I love playing music, but goddamn, I'm like, you could somebody could pay you to fix their brakes. That seems more feasible than somebody asking you to like, write them a song. So was the outside influences of like LA and that universe like really engulfing it like as a kid?
Uh, Kind of. I mean, yeah, my dad was on like a TV show called American Bandstand, and I thought that was cool. And then my parents were on like some talk show for something. I mean, they're not famous. They just happened, you live in LA, you're in LA enough. My dad like straight up is from LA.
I
So
remember that show.
yeah, I mean, he's on there like Jackson 5. He's basically like the Asian guy that's in there. So you can see him, but yeah, kind of. I mean, there's just like this big mystery. Also, my cousin was in movie. She's an actor. She's she is my cousin's actually in the movie Donnie Darko. She plays
Wow,
Sharita Chan.
that's
Uh,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, she was great. So I remember I was in sixth grade, and I remember my grandpa taking me like picking me up from school or something and taking me to set and seeing my cousin act in a movie. The whole scene that I saw was the movie well.
Yeah, yeah.
There's the scene where they're sitting on the or standing on the corner of the street, like waiting for the bus or whatever to go to school. And they're like all picking on Sharita, right? So I saw that being shot. And there was something really magical that I was like, wait a minute, like people just like do this for a job. Like everyone, it's just like this. It was just a team working together. It was almost if it was like war, where like you guys are infantry and you guys are whatever else war has. And they were, the way that they all spoke was very cool, like rolling sound, roll sound, roll sound, rolling camera, roll camera, roll camera, and then like background. And then it was just this like orchestral
Yeah.
movement that was like so cool that I was like, wow, I don't know what this is, but they're not teaching this in school, and I don't know.
Did anyone
Maybe I should
check? Did
do it.
anyone check the gate?
And did anyone check the gate? Yeah. And but I remember they shot this one shot. If you go back and look at the movie Donnie Darko, there's a shot of Jake Gyllenhaal walking just with Sharita Chen's earmuffs on. And that shot I remember taking like an hour and just being really confused. Like, why would that take an hour? You just pop a tripod up and go. Like, it's not. This is, it didn't really calculate with me like what they were doing, but I wanted to know like why does it take that long? And boy, do I know now why it takes that long to get a 3 second shot of someone walking, you
I'm
know?
totally gonna like so I think Shutter put it back up. So I'm definitely gonna go flip through those scenes again because it has been a minute. But I think a lot of that stuff would is like lighting and stuff, things you like you don't think about, right? Like shadows and all that shit, right?
Right. They were probably figuring out which way should he walk this way or this way? Is it respecting screen direction in the edit? Is it, like there's just so many things to think about. Um, and then when you have like a rising star like Jake Gyllenhaal, you're like, his reps are probably there. Like, what angle does he want to be shot from or whatever? Like, does he look good? Does the wardrobe look good? His hair, like, you
Yeah.
know, there's tons of things involved.
Everything worked out for him, from Bubble Boy to the new Roadhouse.
Let me ask you, you said that you don't know what you want to do in life.
I mean, I just like playing music, like so basically,
Or is it not what you do
I
in life then?
but I'm saying like I related to
Oh, okay.
your short film, because it's just like you kind of sometimes like if I would have watched this maybe 30 years ago or something, I would have been like, yeah, maybe I'll just keep playing music. But you just have to like gamble on yourself, and that's really what it is. And if you don't, like a lot of times, things won't happen. But and sometimes things won't happen anyway. But full time is the one that I was talking about. I mean, I guess we can get into it now, just because it's such a prominent. They're the two things that you wanted to talk about, so I will talk about them now, and we'll jump around. But like, I really related to it, especially skateboarding too. Like, I was a skateboarder, but like, yeah, it's just you got to like bet on yourself, and you gotta like. I never like the 9 to 5 just always seemed like, oh my god, like you fucking wake up, you go to work, you come back, you fucking like you sit on the couch. You're like, I mean, some people don't even want to go to the gym because they're so tired from work. And then you do what
Yeah.
you want on the weekends. So I mean, specifically, that really spoke to me. So let's kick it off there, I guess, right?
Well, I will say, like the 9 to 5 thing, when you think about if you don't work for anyone and you start building your own spaceship, right? Your own thing. You're still going to work those hours. You're still going to work,
Longer.
generally 9 to 5, but yeah, probably longer. I mean,
Yeah,
you're going to like,
it's for yourself though. Like everything is for yourself and stuff like that. Like if that's the case, because I'm pretty much self-employed, so I get it.
oh, nice. I mean, man, I mean, yeah, I mean, the self-employed thing is like really amazing to do. It's like a whole different life. It really is a whole different life. I mean, I've done both where I have a day job and it's like my focus. And then I've been very self-employed and doing both. Like you just have a different perspective on life. You
Yeah.
essentially you like see more. Like there's times, if you're at work, you don't even know if it's raining. Like you don't know, you're not connected to like what's happening out there as much. There's a lot less time to sort of be bored or sorry, uh be bored like when you do have a 9 to 5. And the
Also,
other necessarily not going to 9 to 5. I mean, people need to do that, need to do what they got to do, you
100%.
know?
And some people like there is no problem, with that whatsoever. What I found later, when I tried to work under a corporation was just I think the older I got, the less I like people telling me what to do and why numbers weren't whatever they were. Because to me, I'm like, yo, just suck my dick. Like, how's that?
Yeah.
How's that work for you?
Balls. How about that?
But there's merits to both, and it's just like whatever you're used to, But yeah, man, it's you watch that, and first of all, the cinematography and fucking both of these and Full Time and Gut Punch were fucking amazing. So it was
Thank you.
Jarvis, right?
Jackson Jarvis shot full time and Ling Mai shot gut punch.
Well, let's do Full Time first because he killed it. Like,
Yeah.
you never know. I mean, technology's crazy, right? So even like when you make music videos, like technology is wild right now. Like, you watch these things and I popped it on and I'm like, okay, like let's see what this is all about. And the one thing that grabbed me immediately was just how fucking great it was shot, how great the dialogue was. Like it seemed like a normal conversation. I mean, who doesn't like to suck toes? you know and the beautiful awesome backdrop is a lifelong New Yorker. New York, I've never fallen out of love with New York. I mean,
Wait,
occasionally.
you know what I found out? Some people don't like sucking toes.
I'm sure there are.
It doesn't make sense to me though. I mean, like, why not?
Yeah.
You know,
There are worse things to suck on. So, if whatever your partner's
choose
into.
sex. All oral sex is literally more gross than the toes sometimes.
Well, yeah, for sure. But you know what it is? Like it's all on the table for me. I'm a fan. So like when I heard that, I get it. And I was, to me, like dialogue's hard to write. Like I come to me, like Tarantino is like my universe, right? So when I was younger, there was a point in my time where I was like, okay, I love music, but like maybe I could write movies and stuff like that. And that was a time that like Pulp Fiction dropped, Reservoir Dogs,
Yeah.
so dialogue driven, but also Kevin Smith had his thing, you
Oh yeah.
know, and like you would like watch these movies like Mallrats, and obviously, I guess those jokes seemed way more adolescent now than they did then. But like the
Yeah, but
Tarrant,
that's kind of like where I like to live is kind of like between the two a little bit.
yeah,
Sometimes even like I mean I love PTA and
oh, amazing piece. I love. Did you love Licorice Pizza? I thought that was so
pretty
good.
good, sir.
Oh, yo, but some people hated on it, but like the simplicity, it was, I mean, I guess the story was simple, but vast. And I just bought into the girl from Haim or Haim
Mhm.
and Philip's son. Like their chemistry, I thought was really strong in the movie, and that I wanted to follow them wherever they went. Right?
Yeah, I think that licorice pizza for me is like it's obviously it's not his strongest, but there's something about the way that he captures actors and it's hard to look away from his movies. Like his movies are very captivating, and I think the reason people didn't like it that much was more of like expectations of like this 3 act structure where like this happens then this happens and this like it like they wanted like the standard structure and even I wanted that going in and I had to watch it a couple times to go what am I missing, hold on, I know something's here, it's good, I enjoy watching it, but enjoying watching it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. So I had to like find the two. And I have a girlfriend, and I was watching it with her, and she said, "Oh, it's like a romp," and I didn't even know what a romp was, but a romp is like it is exactly what it is. It's just kind of like going around and doing all these things. Like there's no real like stakes almost. There's sometimes, but like when Bradley Cooper basically enters the story, it's like stake heaven. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching it a lot. I think that there's so much more that I took away from like Magnolia and Boogie Nights. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
gonna be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously like also the master. I mean, if you think about like the master has like a similar structure to Licorice Pizza, it just has a whole different darkness to it that maybe that format makes sense for.
And
Um,
it's funny. Like Boogie Nights is just like that's the 100%. Like everything about that movie worked. It was just a fucking masterpiece. And then when I went to go see Magnolia after that, I didn't like it because I wanted something. I just couldn't. I don't know. There was something about it. But then as time went on, you go back and you appreciate it more. And I did that with Magnolia.
yeah,
My dad told me to watch Phantom Thread, which I still haven't watched. But yeah, PTA is hell yeah. I like
that's
the
the
guitar
script.
too. Oh, that's awesome.
That's the Magnolia script. I'm reading it right now because I just want to learn a few things from this for this thing I'm writing. But
No, but
uh,
once again, to go back to your dialogue, like everything about it, just it doesn't seem corny. It didn't seem forced in both shorts, which is like super hard to do because like I don't know, it's such a thankless job when you get it right, but it's also like easy to critique. It's like, oh, no one would ever say that, whatever. But like it wasn't. I thought the casting was great.
thank you. Well, to the dialogue, I mean, the dialogue is always fun to write. I mean, it always has to come for me as like this joke that I'm like, oh my God, I can this idea that I can get like 8 jokes out of like right away, then I know I can write something around it. But it comes down to after you've written it, sure, maybe it's good, but I guarantee you like half of it might not work. And so my process in figuring that out, because you don't know, you think it's all good. It's all you wrote it all.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
then you have to use whatever like technology and tools you have to figure out is this funny? And sometimes sending it to friends like isn't real doesn't really cut it. So I make what's called a previs. Do you know about this?
No,
So a previs is I went to the bodega and I shot everything shot for shot. Uh, with me, I was playing every character. I was just wearing different hats.
I saw that. I saw because you posted the probiotic antibiotic thing on your Instagram, I believe.
Well, I did that. That was a TikTok. That was the first thing I did with that idea.
Okay, okay.
And yeah, and then but then I wrote like the full script that went to be like 20 pages. And then I went to the bodega and I shot it shot for shot. All the dialogue the same, angles, everything, the slow zooms, like all of that with music, sound design, like it's basically its own short film in pictures. So from that, I cut out tons of stuff because it just wasn't working. A lot of the jokes were like, oh, I think it ends actually right here. Like, why would it go on for another page, So there's a nice thing about getting a compliment about dialogue, and the compliment really is for like the idea, but then them actually making it funny because it wouldn't be as funny if the editing wasn't as good as well, you know. And I'm talking about editing meaning like not shooting it, like knowing what's not funny before you go to shoot.
Yeah, yeah, trust me, editing is a big thing. I play in a band, and anytime we write songs, I'm like, this part doesn't need to be here.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't need keys. Maybe it doesn't need a choir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so to go to Gut Punch real quick, once again, it's just first of all, how underrated is a bodega? I mean, like, man, when anytime I'm in Brooklyn or Manhattan and it's like 2 in the morning and you roll up in there and like they're fucking like wide open, nice and bright, like you can't really beat a killer 24-hour bodega with the I always go for like the gummy snakes or like like
Oh,
right the
like,
Haribo is like I'm trying to think of like
oh
my
yeah.
go-to's there, man. They're super underrated, so I'm glad to see um this short take place in there, and it's man, it's got to be so hard to just write this scene with these four people and just fucking like I'm like listening to once again the dialogue super true, super real. Every character really does their part. And I think Joe List is fucking hilarious. I know you worked with Bobby Lee and Joe List, which is
Yeah.
cool. Like, did you ever try being a stand up, or was this just not what you wanted to do?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I wasn't funny. I was just I knew that I could write funny stuff, but I can't be the one to say it. I'm just doesn't it's not funny out of my mouth. Um, so I had to like come to terms with just like, all right, I could like work on this stand-up thing for like 10 years and then I'll be pretty good. Or I can just do what I've been doing and like take these ideas and have someone else say them because they've already been working on being funny. So, naturally a lot of the ideas that I have, I want them to be funny. So I have to like make them be funny somehow. And part of that is just getting the right person to say it. And they're gonna know the timing, they're gonna know where to look, how to adjust their posture. Like that's what stand-ups are always working on. They're always like, is it funny if I say this, then turn? Like that's like a technical thing that I mean, not that I'm old, but I feel like I'm too old to like start going and doing stand-up. Just because I have it's not, but yes, I've done it. I've done it a good amount, and I really enjoy it. And I've only ever like done well like a couple times, but but
Amazing. All right.
but I love the grind. I love going from place to place, and
Yeah,
like it's a you have a day off or something, and you go do like 3, 4 open mics. That's like a fucking awesome day. I think
it is.
stand-up is a
I have
great one.
I have a friend. His name's Neil Rubenstein. Shout out to him. He's a
I think I
ex
know.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
ex musician, and he's been doing the comedy thing for like 10 years. And he's the one who put me onto Joe List. He's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
he's like, yo, he's like, Joe List is fucking hilarious. And I remember the name. So when I saw him in Gut Punch, I was like, holy shit. So but yo, so as far as like comedy goes, like any people that you've seen or any growing up that you were like, hey, these are my favorites. Because for me, it was always like Chris Rock. Like those first few like specials, like Bigger and Blacker, Bring the Pain. Like my
Yeah.
stomach would fucking hurt laughing at those. So any of those influence?
Yeah, I mean, Rock was always around for me. I watched his specials. I love them. The ones that really hit for me was Chappelle's back-to-back specials.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, actually it was Chappelle. It was Hedberg.
Oh,
Um,
so good.
yeah,
Hedberg.
Hedberg and Pablo Francisco.
Okay.
And Yeah, those for me. Also, Eddie Murphy, both of them, and Bill Hicks. But I didn't really become like a big Bill Hicks fan till later, like to like 10 years later. Like I was like maybe 25 or something.
All right,
Uh,
yeah. So you go back, yeah, because I mean, I was like, I know I'm like probably older than you, so I I didn't want to go back too much, but I remember
what do you
seeing.
think I am?
Well,
Don't Google it.
you said you went to school in 2005.
What do you mean? What do you mean by went to school? What do you think that meant? College?
Yeah, so I probably got maybe 8 years on you, so you're probably like 36.
Whoa! Yeah,
Yeah,
36.
yeah.
All right, cool. Just checking.
I got. It's funny. I'm 46, so I got 10 on you. That's how good and bad my math are.
Oh, okay, nice, nice.
But I saw Raw in theaters, and
Oh, wow.
now when I watch it, I mean, I was like 8 or 9 or something. So my parent, yeah, the beauty of growing up in the '80s or being like so young is like I watched. I mean, just pure brutality, like just like the filthiest shit, like the things that really shaped my sense of humor.
Was there
Uh,
still porno in theaters in the 80s?
yeah, of course I
Was
was
there?
there. I was there.
Wow.
No, I
Oh,
was
you
like,
weren't there.
well, I didn't. I've never seen a porn in a fucking theater, but
All right.
they were there. So because I remember we would drive through like Queens. I think that stopped in like the mid to late '80s. There was some holdouts, but like yeah, no, they were still there because I vividly remember driving through Queens and like seeing like this one place that had
People used
them.
to go on dates to go watch those.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, that's a flex and a half right there.
That's amazing. I mean, I would do. I don't want to get into my single life, but I would put porn on when I would have like a party on,
Oh, killer.
and
Yeah, yeah.
party going on. I put porno on the TV. I don't know. I just, but then everyone would freak out. But to me, I mean, my dad had told me that they would play porn in the movies. Also, like in Taxi Driver, that they go do
Yes.
that. So I'm
Yep.
just like, was like, why? Why not? What does it matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God.
Absolutely made it famous. The next time we have people over, I might do that, and I'm going to credit you.
Be a soft core,
Oh,
ease him
oh, like, yeah, like Skinamax type thing,
max.
like
Yeah.
those direct to video Anna Nicole Smith movies.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, let's the people in Gut Punch were great.
Oh yeah.
So List, what I love about the dialogue in this is like you really touched upon how everyone, like, there's so much information and people just digest it in different ways, and it's always like, oh yeah, it's like I read this and this is how this goes, and everyone has like their point of view, and it's like everyone knows everything yet everyone knows nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you start knowing everything. That's why I think it's nice that it's impossible to know everything. It's really, I mean, Joe List says it in the film. It's all about he just wants to feel good. And it has nothing to do with being right. It has to do with feeling good.
Yeah.
And there's no way to know if you're right. So you have to only pursue feeling good. And yeah, so I I searched pretty hard to find that theme actually, because it didn't have any theme for a long time. And I have a buddy, he's a poet of mine, or he's a poet. Jesus Christ.
He's a poet of mine. He just hangs out in the back.
I have many poets, and he's just one of them. Um, yeah, I got a buddy that's a poet, and every time I send him a script, he's like, "This doesn't mean anything. It's funny, it's interesting, but it doesn't mean anything." And I kind of love that feedback every time I send him something because he just kind of hits me really honestly, and he gives me what I need, which is like the pursuit to like search more for what the fuck I'm trying to say because it's really hard to find what you're trying to say. It's hard to know yourself, and until you truly know yourself, which like no one does, uh, you can then speak from yourself.
Do you feel like everything has to have a meaning though?
I feel like you should know what the meaning is. I don't think
It's
that
true.
the audience like
Yeah,
needs
you're
to
right.
get it. But you should know what you're going for, whether it's I just want them to feel this way for the time of this movie, or maybe it's like a full time where it's like completely in your face. But
What are some movies that made you feel a certain type of way? Like something, like there's definitely some movies that I could think of that made me feel like I remember watching Killing of a Sacred Deer, the
mm,
Yorgos Lanthimos movie, and
I
like,
do. I haven't seen it though.
oh, all right. So what about Poor Things? You watch Poor Things yet?
I haven't seen that yet.
All right. So anyway, but like
It had to be this fall.
these movies, yeah, like they just fucking like stir you up, like where you're like, in Killing of a Sacred Deer, I wanted to like strangle one of the main characters, and I'm like, that's so cool that because
Yeah.
like at a certain age, you're like certain movies don't make you feel that way, and then you watch something like that where you're just like, Mother was another good one with Darren
Like
Aronofsky,
Mother. Yeah.
but that was like, I'm not an anxious person, I don't get anxiety or anything like that, but it was just like you're watching this and you're like, how the fuck is he making me feel like I have anxiety right now?
Yeah. That's like really hard to do. I say it's really hard to do, and maybe if you look at my work, anybody looks at my work, they'll be like, yeah, but what do you mean it's hard to do? You do it. That's because it's hard to do. I don't want to do something that's easy to do, you
Yeah.
know. I like challenging myself and climbing mountains, figuratively, and then people being like, how did you get on top of that mountain? And I'm like, well, you can see it right there, like this whole I just walked right there. So doing like doing those challenges with manipulating, basically what you're doing is as a filmmaker, you're manipulating people's emotions. Like you're going, how do I manipulate people's emotions for the duration of this film and maybe a little bit after? It's hard to do. You kind of have to be a little bit uh psychologically not fucked up, but like, manipulative. You have to know how to manipulate. And I don't have like some I'm not like a saint like in high school and stuff. I would do like weird things to like try to get people to hang out with me, like try to make new friends, try to like formulate a situation so that I would like end up at the party,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like you have to manipulate life to get what you want sometimes.
Like
And
anybody want to come watch porn at my house?
right, yeah, come on, jacuzzi porn, what do you got? You kind of pay attention to those moments, or I do. And As I pay attention to those moments, I sort of jotting them down and like trying to figure out the psychology behind it. And honestly, being in therapy is like a really nice thing because we'll get to sit there and say, why did I decide to cross the street this one time when I didn't have to. Like something like that. And then you'll sit there with a therapist and talk about the psychology of it. It's like a really cool thing to do in terms of like just figuring out this human psychology. So once you like kind of have enough to know, maybe you have a story that's not quite working, and then you're able to like do a psychology pass and go, wait a minute, let me figure out what the audience is thinking. And then eventually you get like good enough where you're or experienced enough, I should say, to like let your first draft maybe does have psychology in it already. You know, it's not just like, something a lot of filmmakers struggle with, especially myself, is when you write your first draft, it's straight up like you're just doing like a gotcha to the audience. You're like, this is what this is. No, it's not at the end, right? Like it's like a that's like a bad way to do it. There you have to like really do it the right way.
Well,
Depending on the story, it's like really hard.
Gut Punch got me because all the pieces were there. I'm not going to get into it, obviously, because it's like, like 17 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is. So anyone, you know,
Well,
right? Some like, oh, you
12
12.
minutes.
Listen, yeah, exactly. Even shorter. So, all the pieces are there. So by the time it got back to the ending, I was like, son of a bitch. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, this everything just played out like a fantastic play, and all the pieces fit together.
Oh
Even
yeah.
even full time, like where I was like, I think I know where you're going with this, and that was a little bit obviously more of a serious one right there. And by the time you got to the end, I was just like, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's not in. You weren't trying to mask the meaning whatsoever, I think, but it was still effective, and then you see this guy trying those tricks on the skateboard, and he is just not the same age, and you're like,
Mhm.
pretty good, man. And then both of these had really catchy songs. I didn't see the names of the two bands or the songs, but obviously you have a piano and a guitar in the background, so music seems to be somewhat important to you. So what was the song at the end of Full Time and Gut Punch?
Well, that's Oliver Hill is the composer that I like to use. He's so talented. He's great to work with. He's got such a sensibility for telling stories and just uses the instruments that my ears like. So he the first song in the song in well, he did the whole score for both films, but the song that both films end with were written by him, made by him like outside of the score. He just kind of made those differently. So for Full Time, the last song is called Dust Rider, and that's actually how I found him. I was in LA and I was kind of in development of full time. And my buddy was like, "Hey, come! I'm gonna DJ this thing. There's like bands." And I went and just kind of came across Oliver, and he was I loved. He like opened for everybody, and he was so talented. And his music just hit me. His voice was really cool. So I just kind of took note of like who he was, and then I hit him up
In,
later.
Instantly, like both songs, I'm aside from being a cinephile, I'm a complete music fucking nerd. And both songs immediately were pleasing. Like when you hear them, you're like, "Oh, this is good." I don't even know who the fuck it is,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, the well he's so Oliver is and then he made the for Gut Punch he made the song that's a completely custom song. I told him like what this whole short film means, like the deepness of it and whatever. And I was a little bit worried because he's like, okay, well this is how much it'll be, you know, let's talk about like you know the execution a little bit. And he kind of told I sent him a couple of examples of songs that I liked. And then he just said, okay, cool, I'll go do it. And then in my head, I was like, so is he just going to give me a song and that's the fucking song? Like, what if I don't like it? And then he sent me what you hear in the film is like the first fucking draft.
Yeah.
He just like nailed it like so perfectly. And
What did you send him though? I'm just curious. Like, what was one of the songs?
I sent him this song called Witch Doctor. And let me look it up really quick. Who is it by? I have a playlist. I make playlists for like every film that I am doing just for like inspo.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So it's called
Life is a
Witch
playlist at this moment.
Life. Wow, that should be the name of your podcast.
Instead, we took a stupid name.
Yeah. It's called Witch Doctor by a band called Galactic.
Okay.
And so he actually uses the wording witch doctor. It's like the witch doctor knows every I forget the lyrics, but it's there it's very clever. It says exactly what the film is saying. So it's amazing. And he did such a good job at making that. Like first draft is like that doesn't happen, you know, like first draft of something like
Magic.
normally a lot of work, but you know.
Magic. All right, yeah. So real quick, a couple of last things. Basically loop production, just like what's that all about? Because I was trying to I
Yeah,
jumped I
so
jumped I jumped on the
Loop is
Instagram, but like I said, I would rather you just tell me everything.
So at the moment, I'm helping a buddy like with this company that's doing video production. So I run the video production because the company also does live interactive stuff, and then they do like social media strategy. It's like a full creative studio, and so I run the video department. By that means what that means is I direct and edit all of their stuff. So I just started working with his name's Nick Gallo who runs it. He's great. Shout out to Loop. And he sort of expressed an interest in wanting to possibly do a short film thing. And I said, well, you know, I have a really good opportunity for if you want to get into it. Um, give me insurance for this film and I'll put your name on it. And if you don't like it, I'll take it off. And he said, okay, yeah, great. So he didn't give me any notes. He just kind of, you know, said, hey, yeah, go ahead and do this. And but now like it's something that we're able to use to say like, hey, we do like narrative stuff too. So so yeah, it's that's what Loop is. Loop is a creative studio in Dumbo. And at the moment, yeah, I'm running the video production
Oh
team.
yeah. Shout out to Dumbo. Love that spot. We used to play shows at a place called Water Street Lounge. I don't even know if it's still there. That was fucking forever ago.
Uh, Water Street. Well, I
It
worked
it
Water.
was on Water Street.
Yeah, Water Street Lounge. I mean, that's like right by my office. So I don't know.
I'm
It must not be there anymore.
no, yeah, yeah. It's probably it's been many years, but I just anytime I
Okay.
think of Dumbo, I think of that. And real quick too, like as a music fan, I just wanted to mention like the music video work. You directed the Jake Yo Young with You, which I love that video because it's like featured up on your website. Uh, the Tears for Fear stuff that you did the edit on. And then Outside was the other band, but specifically, I really like the Jake Yo song "Young with You," and I like the concept for the video. So, you know, just give me a little bit on that.
Yeah, so Jake is a buddy of mine, and he was in the band Outside, and
Okay.
so I met him. It was like his first week in LA, and I met him. We were working with the photographer Tyler Shields, who's like a yeah, just a portrait artist, and I was directing the behind the scenes for him. He was exploding. He was blowing up a Rolls Royce. That was the photo he was taking. So he wanted like all this behind the scenes for it. So I was running that for him. I met Jake. Jake ended up being like a really good musician that I didn't realize he was. He's in a band called Outside. I did a couple of their videos, and then he went and do his own solo thing. And the music video Jakey O, Young with You, that music video kind of like that was the first thing that I made just completely from my brain in like maybe 5 years. And then there were so many decisions I could see myself. I was being a whole different director than I used to be 5 years prior. And something there, I was like, okay, I feel like I know how to do this way better now. And my sensibility and like everything is like coming together in a way better way than it used to. And after I made that video, I was like, I really like this. This is like I've directed many other music videos and I didn't really like them, honestly. Like I just didn't like them.
Yeah.
And this one was fully like just my idea. I told Jake, hey, this is what I want to do. Just trust me. I'll just do this. I need you to shoot for like 2, 3 days. And then I flew out there to do it. And then once we were done with the edit, um, I just kind of like had to have a moment with myself that was like, okay, I think you're on to something else now. You should go make a film. So that's when I went and made full time. That was when I was like, all right, I think I'm ready to like get back into short films because it's there.
Yeah.
So made full time and then a year later made Gut Punch.
Oh, that's right, because there was that gap from the one with Bobby Lee, right? There was
Mhm.
like a few. Oh yeah, that
Well, the one with Bobby Lee came out in like 2014.
14. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah,
because
and
I'm
then
saying,
but then I made two after that, and they got into a few festivals, but there were a lot of me just kind of like trying to find my skills.
okay,
And
so nicotine and thank you so much. Or awesome,
awesome,
thank
thank
you,
you.
awesome, thank you.
Yeah, those were awesome. Thank you was like an editing exercise. It was just practicing really. So I put the practice into a short film, and then nicotine was like a dialogue practice for me to go because I had only made stuff where scenes would last like less than half a page or a page. And I was like, well, why can't if I want to get into features, I got to be able to write longer than that. So I wrote it's just one scene and it's 9 pages and it's all one shot. And
Didn't see it, but I read because I couldn't find it, to be honest with you. I
took it
could.
away from the internet. Yeah.
But I love the concept of it. It's such a cool, I don't smoke, but like anytime I see people that smoke, there is like this like bonding thing where they just meet up outside and anyone could be outside. It's how my one of my favorite shows, You're the Worst, started, with the two main characters coming out to smoke during a wedding and then they link up. And yeah, I mean, I fucking hate smoking, but like when I read that, I was like, oh, that's a really good beginning or premise to something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't smoke anymore, but I vape. So it's
Yeah, good for you, man.
at least I don't smell bad.
I
Uh,
eat, I eat food. That's my thing.
you eat food. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love eating food. Um, but yeah, no, that's going back to the music video, that kind of just told me, wait a minute, I like making funny stuff too. And so I did full time and because the thing with full time is I made it right after Jakey O. And then it I made it. It took 6 months to finish in editing and score and all that. And then we had to hit the festivals, and that took a year. And in that time, I got restless, and I was like, I gotta do another thing. I can't just do film festivals. So that's when I made Gut Punch. And so it seems like they came out like at the same time. It's like people think that I just like made two films simultaneously. Like, no, they were very staggered, but
yeah. But
yeah, they
yeah, like you said, you got to do something. Like when you're a creative, it's like I don't like feeling like I don't like. I always have to do something completely. Make something, make a new record, make new. We make a lot of music videos actually, so I don't know. Maybe we could link up and make something together. I like
yeah.
that. But yeah, man, it's just if you're not making something, then what the fuck are you doing?
Well, I think there's I forget where I heard this. I want to say it was like Rick Rubin's book. It's he said a creative person without an outlet is dangerous. He said something like that.
Yeah, I
And
remember the quote.
yeah, and I that like hit me really hard because there's been so many times, especially like during the pandemic when I couldn't, you couldn't really do anything. I ended up making a podcast that I just hosted from home, and it was a really I put like a iPad on a mannequin, and then I sat on the other side. I built like a whole bar, like a booth in my apartment, and I would just interview this mannequin, but I would FaceTime with people. And
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
yeah, and it was called Face to Face Time. It was like full video, like we had full video coverage. I just ran it all. And but I'm telling, but like before I made that, it was like 3 months before like that, I was able to like start recording episodes. I was a dangerous guy. I was dangerous to myself mostly. I was like, am I gonna fucking kill myself? Like what's going on here? I can't make anything. This is crazy.
That
Um,
that would have been one hell of an episode.
yeah, I know. But no, I've always, anytime I've been put in a corner, I end up just being creative, and I have to make something. There's no way. I mean, yeah, I could sit here with like these water bottles and just like I'll start stacking them, or I'll start like cutting them up and like making something. Like I kind of just have to like make stuff. It's hard for me to just relax.
One of the things, before we finish here, one of the things you mentioned in this interview that you had a link up. I read through the whole thing. You said, life without passion is fucking sad. And I always said the same thing, so much so that one of our songs is called Passion Fuels. And the lyrics are like, come with me to waste all your time on shit no one cares about, but it means the world to you. And to me,
Yeah.
like, like reading what you wrote in that article, I was like, oh yeah, I completely understand where it's like if you don't have like a hobby or passion or something that you love in your life, it's fucking weird and fucked up. And I feel bad. Like you should find something, even if no one gives a shit about it except you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big one. And man, I guess that's really it. Like anything that we could look forward to coming up that you're working on?
I have a short film. I have a short film that I'm working on right now, very slowly because my main project is a feature,
Oh
but the short
wow,
film,
cool. That's awesome.
yeah, the short film, uh, the synopsis is I'm not really talking about it because it carries a lot of weight, the subject matter, and it can be a bit controversial.
Sure.
So I try not to talk about it, but I'm looking to probably shoot that in late May. And then the feature's always being worked on in the background. And for me, I would love to make the feature next year. The feature is about a joke thief in New York City. And yeah,
That's good. That's
thank
a
you. Yeah.
great subject.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. And so kind of working on some stuff with some managers and trying to get it going.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
look forward to that. And so out of all your shorts, right? If you could make one of them a feature, which one would it be?
gut punch
Cool.
for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Uh John, man, yo, nice meeting you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, good to meet you too, man. What's your band called?
I'll follow you on the Instagrams with through the band and the podcast, and we'll chat and link.
All right, perfect, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.